Hello, welcome back to another Cookiecutter Django tutorial. My name is Jay. As usual, I started this and then realized I was muted. So, excuse me, I'm going to stumble over myself trying to catch back up again. This is a Cookiecutter Django number 10 in my series, and this one is covering Celery. It should be pretty quick. Not a lot going on here. You're going to find out Celery is actually really useful. It's more useful with WebSockets, and we'll find out why in just a second. Let me read this real quick. I burnt my throat out on the preview. Okay. Previous versions of Celery required a separate library to work with Django, but since 3.1, this is no longer the case. Django is supported out of the box. So this document only contains a basic way to integrate Celery and Django. You'll use the same API as the non-Django users, so you're recommended to read the first steps with Celery tutorial first and come back in this tutorial. When you have a working example, you can continue to the next steps guide. So if we go look at the requirements.txt folder, you can see that you most likely have 4.2 or later. It's going to depend on when you copy the Cookiecutter Django repo, but it shouldn't be less than 4.2. So we're good to go in terms of that. We don't need that extra package. We do have Celery in here, right here being installed, but we don't need whatever extra package was required to like marry the two anymore. So that's good. All right. So if we go down a little further, you can see that we need this. It's already going to be configured in the project, so we don't need to worry about that. But we do need a config file. And as you can see here, we're getting Celery from Celery. We're passing it. We're grabbing the set the default Django settings module for the Celery program. We're creating a Celery app, and we're calling it project in this case, or proj. What does this one do? Using a string here means the worker doesn't have to serialize the configuration object to child processes. Namespace equals Celery means all Celery-related configuration keys should have a Celery underscore prefix. Okay, so we're creating a namespace for Celery basically within the app. This auto-discover tasks. You're not gonna. This is what a task looks like. This is a very simple task. It is setting a task onto the app. Bind true, ignore results true. The function is debug task, and it's just printing the request from self.request, which admittedly I didn't know there was a self.request on these Celery tasks, so that's interesting. I'm gonna check that out here in a second. Okay, so that's this is configuration. These are the tasks. So this is really all you need to know. There's probably some other interesting stuff in here. This is already done. I mean, all this is just breakdown of what we did up there, basically. Right, so let's go back over to the project. And this project is from the WebSockets tutorial, so we have channels installed. We have our WebSockets that we made from the other tutorial, some basic stuff. We didn't do anything else, so it's in terms of what we're doing here, this is a fresh initialization of the project. Celery was selected, async was selected, Docker was selected. So those things, if you're initializing a project, you might want to go ahead and select those so that you have access to these items. In your config file, so project folder config, where a lot of things are, right? We have our URLs and our WebSockets. This is from earlier. We've created all of that. And then routing, ASGI. Right, so we have the Celery app, which doesn't really have anything to do with the WebSocket routing, ASGI files, other than it's really nice to communicate with WebSockets with Celery whenever tasks are complete, which is what I want to look at. Hopefully, see how much time we have here. We might split that off into a project. I am going to be doing deployment. I don't think I have anything else to cover. We'll see. I'm going to try to get a few more videos done today. I'm going to make sure I have all the bases covered. I might go ahead and do a deployment tutorial, and then I'm going to build a project. So I might do that on a live stream. So if you're not following, if you don't want to share, subscribe, that stuff, I'm not really a content creator. I don't know if you can tell. But I do plan on doing some live streams here on YouTube where I just do I do 20, 30 hour builds. I can go for hours and hours and hours on energy drinks. So I might go ahead and do like a full-blown project here on YouTube. So if you're into that type of thing, go ahead and give it a follow, and then you'll know whenever I go live. I might put it on the community page or something. I don't know how this stuff works, but yeah, I will see if I can't knock out a complete like actual functional project and launch it on one of my test servers for people to access and play with over like a 20-hour period, and we'll see how that goes. So you'll get the full start to finish, initialized to deployment, all of the CI/CD and everything. So go ahead and give that a follow. But we'll get back to this now. So in your project, you already have a celery_app.py file. This is the config file for Celery. Not a lot going on in here, obviously. We have the auto-discovered tasks already set up. Okay. So the way that this is going to work is that, I mean, you can do it however you want because it's auto-discovered. You can put the tasks anywhere as long as they have the decorator and they're read by the server or I guess processed by the project. You're good to go. But the best organizational approach would be you have your app folder, which is named after your project. You have your apps within your app folder. The user folder is the default, one of the default apps that shows up whenever you initialize Cookiecutter Django project. If you go into users, you'll find a task.py file. If you click on that, you'll see a sample a task not too different from this one right here. It's a very simple task. As you can see, we don't have a couple of those. We don't have bind equals true. We don't have ignore underscore results equals true. But we do have a task here that we can use, and it is a. Did I start? It says here a pointless Celery task to demonstrate usage, and it is pretty pointless. I didn't. I thought I started Docker. Okay, I was going to show you in the logs. Let's go ahead and get that spun up. It is pretty pointless in this situation. Basically, what it is that you can call this task anywhere, and when it's done running, it will return the user object count. But the whole point behind Celery, we're in users. Let's go look into the views. If we're looking at a view, see if we can find. Let's just go make a view, maybe. Oh, no, here. Here's an example. Okay, because this is a regular function-based view. Let's say that somebody wants to generate a report. That report requires... I have a small example is I have a website scanner app. So a user puts in their URL, and my app will go and try to find first the robots.txt file, just to get that on record, but then also to find the sitemap from it. If it can't find the robot.txt file, or it can't find the sitemap within the robots.txt file, it will just go and try to find the sitemap directly. If it can't do that, it'll do a recursive crawl of the entire site. So every link on every page that is an absolute or relative link will be recorded and then visited, where it will be scanned for more links to build a sitemap for the website. And then it will scan all of the content on every page and grade it. This is an actual app I have built. One thing I can tell you about that functionality is that it takes a really long time. And the way that works with Django is that when the user goes and let's say that it's even just an HTMX button that triggers a view. They click that button, it comes over to this view. It goes through that series of 20, 30 steps that take forever. And then it returns, right? And that's what you'd expect. That process is going to have to happen anywhere. But what happens if the user closes the window? It cancels the request. So that report's not going to generate. What happens if they change pages? What happens if they try another? Basically, just what happens if they do another request? It's going to cancel that previous request. It's going to cancel that entire process. They won't get their report anymore. That's what happens when you put everything in a view. So instead, what you want to do is you want to send to task. right here. Then you want to return, let the task fire. So let's see if we can let's go ahead and create a new file in tasks, or in chat, and we'll call it tasks. And I'm gonna create a little test, because another thing we have here is Flower. We have Docker up and running. Let's get a terminal going and get this project up. And when Celery loads here, see it starting to fire up. Oh, that's Redis. Redis, Postgres, Mailpit, Celery, watch files. We have Flower, Celery Beat. All three of these things work together. I'll show you Flower in just a second. All right, we have more Celery. Security warning, you're running the workers with super user privileges. Yeah, I'm on a local computer. It's fine. Celery chunks, absolutely not recommended. Oh, this isn't recommended. We have our broker, which is Redis. I don't know what Celery star map is, but that's a Flower thing. Where is the thing I'm looking? I'm looking for the tasks, because it tells you all the tasks that are available. It's still going. A couple of issues there. All right, so this is wsusers.task.getUserCount, which is that default sample task that's available in users. This is pretty much how you know when you see this. When I see this this ACII art, whatever that is, that's how I know that Celery is pretty much fired up there. But that's basically that's it, right? So now we have that task. Let's see if we can go in and create a new type of task, and we'll try to make it a. Let me find the ID. All right, it was there the whole time. We'll open user task on the side so I can see what imports are there. So we'll say from Celery import shared task. We'll make a shared task. And let's go look up real quick what bind means. Is there search? Chat. We can go. Sorry, I don't know. Throat was fine. Realized I was muted. Started over. Now I'm having some kind of throat attack. So bear with me. In a Django Celery task decorator, what does bind do? Is used to bind the task to the task method, allowing you to access the task's instance method and properties within the task itself. This is particularly useful for accessing information about the task, such as its ID, retrying the task, or updating the task of updating the state of the task. Okay, yeah, so that's actually going to be really useful for progress. There's another package called Celery Progress, which does a dumb little thing. It's all it does is basically gives you a loading bar. With your Celery. Now there's some configuration that has to be done to get it to work right. Right. In fact, let's take this. I like that. Let's take all that. We're not going to use progress right here. But let's look and see what we got. We don't need this. We are going to need to import time. Time is great for, well, for making time. So we're going to import time. We have this results equals 0. Let's see if we need that. Yeah. Okay. So the results equals 0 for I in range seconds. So we're going to pass it an amount of seconds. We're going to time sleep for 1 second, result plus equal I. And so until okay. The loop doesn't have anything to do with results. Really, we could just print seconds. Or I. We don't need to plus equals I. You know what? Let's do this. So we'll print and put in some line breaks to give us some space. I'm going to print result, and I'm going to print I. Okay. All right, so this is now a task within the chat application here. So let me think if we go ahead and use the let's use the index view there. So we can say from WS test chat tasks import, what did we call that? My task. Okay. We're going to import that task. So when somebody enters the index view on the chat, which we'll go find what route that is, what I want to do, let's go ahead and say task equals my task. And then we got to do a delay. So it's very important. I forget the delay sometimes, and it immediately breaks things. And you have to, what the heck? I'm used to it now, so I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that delay. But you definitely want to put that on there. And then you want to pass. In this case, we just want to pass seconds. So let's do a minute. And because I've assigned that to a variable, which you don't have to do, it's just if you need to or not. And in this case, we're doing it. To print task. Okay, so now we've done sent the task. That's just a print. This is us using Celery. So now what happens is, instead of if we had done this delay within the index view and then we closed the view, closed the browser window, changed to a different page, blah blah blah, whatever we did to break the request, it would stop counting. But because we're using Celery now, we have access to is this up? Did we go up? I think we did. Yeah. We have access to something called Flower, which is a monitoring service. And the password and the username are in the Cookiecutter Django docs. Flower. If you go to the Flower docs or anywhere else, you're going to find a default, which I think it's just admin. That's not accurate. That's not how that works. For whatever reason in the cookie. Oh, you know what it is? You go to the Cookiecutter Django docs, it tells you to go to the repo. It tells you that that they're in your config file or in your environment variables. So if we go to local, if we go to Django, as you can see they've changed it. This used to be change this. Now it's debug. I'm glad we came here. Look. But the password and the username are both debug on local. So when you go to 555 instead of 8000, and then you type in username and the password of debug, in my case, make sure you check your. So now we are presented with the Flower dashboard, which is pretty cool actually. I've been playing with this a lot. I've got a couple of applications that I'm running where There's a lot of Celery stuff going on, and so it's really cool seeing the numbers just pop up and down and up and down. And there's a lot more to Celery too. I'm showing you how to trigger Celery tasks. You can also store Celery tasks into your database to fire off at predefined intervals. You can do daily email sendouts. You can do hourly database cleanups. You can do whatever with Celery. That's what's really cool about it. And you can monitor this to show what's happening, what's failed, and etc. I haven't even been through all of this, but does this list out just the ones that are running? And then you have your documentation links there if you need them. But honestly, it's when it comes to these dashboards, what do you really need to change? Maybe click there to read a little bit more about it. So let's go back to this dashboard. Let's come over here. I want the code. Let's save this. Okay, we'll get this print. We'll get a print every second from Celery, so we definitely want to keep our console open. We want to watch these numbers here. Let's go down here. What are you doing? I'll let you spin. And then we want to go over to the website. And I forgot where the URLs are, so hold on. Let me go into chat URLs. Okay. So it's just /chat. All right. So you can see it processed, active, 1. If we go over, we have a minute, right? So we're printing here. So on one side we have the results, which is going up by the second amount. So yeah, I knew there was something weird there. I don't know what that's about, but it's adding every integer to results, and so that's why it's going up so much. But it is printing each time, and this number will go up to 60. Now, let's do this while it's running. Let's go back. Still running. Go to sign up. Still running. So that's, see what I mean? If we had done that in the view itself, it would have stopped the second we changed out of the view. But because it's running in the background, there's nothing stopping it. The only thing you can do to stop it is to either call stop on it, of course, or to uh-oh. Okay, no, that's fine. There's a limit. Let's go find that. You know what, instead of let's have ChatGPT look at the docs. Celery task limit. Maybe not. Oh, okay, well, while it's thinking, we'll go back over here and search limit. I don't know what I was thinking. The truth is, I don't know how to spell limit, and I was embarrassed. Did I lose internet connection? Why is everything taking so long? All right, in Celery, task limits refer to constraints you can apply to control this, the behavior and resources usage of your tasks. These limits can help prevent tasks from over-consuming resources or running indefinitely. There are several types of limits you can set in Celery: rate limit, time limit, concurrency limit. Restrict the number of simultaneous tasks that can be executed. Oh, that's concurrency. Okay. I don't know why I read that. Rate limits are useful for throttling tasks to avoid loading external services on your system. You can set rate limits using rate limit argument. So there's a couple of different limits, and you'll find them in the docs. It's just search. It's coming up with a lot of stuff. Time limits. Let's see which limit we broke here. Soft time limit exceeded. Okay. Let's go back to... So on the shared task decorator, we put our limits, our time limit and our soft time limit. I've used time limit. I haven't used the soft time limit before, so that was new. But I don't know if I've ran a 60-second task. Let me find tasks. Task.py. There it is. Alright. Not that we need this to run really, but you know, while we're here. Where did I put this? So we can go back to /chat. And as you can see, it's now running that Celery task. But that's basically it. What you really want to do at the end of a Celery task is, in a lot of cases, you're going to want to give the user something back in the interface. So it's one thing if you set something in the you can do database work in here, so you can mess with your models and update your models. That's really kind of the purpose of this. It's to do like really heavy, long-running things in the background, but you can do a task for everything. You can do all of your front-end user function manipulation can all be triggered as Celery tasks from your views. But in a lot of cases, the views want to return something. That's the whole point of changing views, updating, putting in information, input, output, is to get something new on the screen. So you're going to find that if you use Celery for that type of thing, we've got that soft limit exceeded again. Either way, I don't really know why it's doing that. Maybe because it's the soft limit is set at exactly 60, and we're trying to run it for 60. But where was I? Oh yeah, you're going to find it pretty difficult to get. Whenever you perform a function on the front end and then it triggers a Celery task and the view's already reloaded because the Celery task is ran outside of the chain of events. And so in the view, we access the view, it starts the task, it returns the template. The task isn't done yet. If you wanted to wait for the task, then why are we using Celery to begin with, right? So you're either doing some kind of background logging information, some secret squirrel stuff, or you're doing something for the user that's eventually going to have to bubble up to the DOM, right? It's going to have to come up to the front end. So that's where triggering a Celery or a WebSocket event really comes in handy, especially when you're using HTMX, and especially when you're using HTMX and returning HTML to the browser. Just saying. There's a lot of ways to do this. You can listen for WebSocket events in just vanilla JavaScript. There's probably a good handful of libraries that will take your WebSocket events and do something with them in the DOM. So if you want to return HTML and use HTMX with your WebSockets, if I can find the WebSockets, where the fuck? Sorry, pardon my language. Where did I put the WebSockets though? In the config folder? I don't think they're in here. Oh, they are. They are. So you can define if you want to return JSON with these. You can. If you want to return. So this is returning JSON right now. It's returning, just this chunk of message. So you can return JSON with these and manipulate the DOM that way. You can use HTMX, which I've I've proven works really well. Only thing is you have to have a couple of async to sync or sync to async functions that you need to run in order to get the template generated, but you can generate the template pretty easily. I have a project. I don't really want to open it right now. I'm feeling a little flustered here, but I have a project where I've got chat rooms running. So you have a whole block of chats that with different users, right? And you can close out of them, minimize them, whatever. And whenever you change a page, those chat rooms follow you. They're your user DMs, and it's all ran through HTMX. So HTMX does the frame of the chat rooms, all of the different chat boxes. It also returns through the WebSocket. It returns templates of the initial conversation of the or the initial message, all of the response messages. So really, really easy actually to get that set up. But that's what gets you when you're using Celery. And then you need to respond to the front end, whether you need to just stop a loading message or any number of other things. WebSockets. Now, the big weird thing here is this is literally just for users that are plugged in right there, right then. It's not for somebody that's going to come back later and check their account, because anything that gets generated from a user accessing their account comes from the models from the database in most cases, right? So it's already configured. You're not using Celery to get that information in most cases. You're not going to be using WebSockets to relay that information. It's all going to come from a Django view. It's whenever the user's live right now in the room messing with something. That's where they're connected to your WebSockets. The Celery tasks are running in the background, and you don't want them to be interrupted by the user's function, interactivity. So you put them off to the side. That it's kind of an important thing, because if it's something that they're not going to need right now, you don't need to worry about Celery really, or maybe you do, but you don't need to worry about WebSockets. You just need to put it in the database, and when they go back to that page, they'll see it there. So it's not that you have to make everything so complicated, but these are very, very powerful tools for getting all types of stuff done. So that's basically what I know about Celery. There's a lot more. It's not just used for Django. It's a very powerful Python library. It's used in a lot of ways. It's good that it's natively integrated into Django nowadays, so that's a bonus. You still have to have the Celery library. I don't know if that means it's native. As far as Cookiecutter Django goes, it's pretty much already configured and set up and integrated. You can find the celery.app.py file in your config folder at the top of your project. And you'll find a sample task in users under task.py that you can check out. You'll see that in the logs that does load. Whenever you spin up the project, you'll find in the Celery logs that it is listing that task, and any other task that you might build will be listed out there. If you want to run the tasks, you need to make sure you use delay. Send in whatever. This will work, but it will work with unexpected and broken results. Okay, so make sure you use delay there. And you can use you can use WebSockets. You can use polling is another option. But those are the only two options, honestly, unless you can figure out a way to maybe trigger a refresh whenever a task is done. In terms of updating the UI, the front end, whenever a task is complete and there's new information. So that's what I got. I will figure out what I'm going to do next on the next video. Maybe I do a Celery progress, maybe not. It's not like it's an important library. It's cool to automatically get your progress bars on the page whenever a task starts running. But maybe not necessary for this. So we'll see. It's either going to be deployment next, or I'm going to come up with a couple more videos before deployment. Deployment's not hard, especially with this project. There's a couple things that would need to be gone through, and then there's the whole I gotta get a provision of a droplet, and I have a URL I can already use, and it's a matter of making it useful. So there's a lot of little things I don't want to skip that I ran into and had to figure out myself that I'd like to cover. So it's walking through that process, and it could end up being a 2-3 hour video. So we'll have to see. I need to get better at editing. I need to start editing so that I can cut out all the nonsense. But until then, my name is Jay. This is not the Really Coding channel, I guess. I don't know what this is. This is my YouTube. Welcome, and hit the like, follow, subscribe, and look out for the next video. I'll see you then.